So what I've been getting people to do, so I said I lied to you. Not really.
Way?
You need to do the intro music because I'm a cheap ass and don't have intro.
The music?
Yeah.
So what, I have to like sing?
Just do a tune. Like da-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, I like that, so not like singing, just like
You can sing if you want.
Alright. See the Bombers
Yes!
up to win the premiership.
Alright, we're here today with Dougie. He is an aspires to be the best he can be at what he does, which is just strength and performance, really. He is still a student at Deakin University. He's still studying, and he's all about, like I said, strength, nutrition, and pretty much everything in fitness. He is one of the smartest blokes I know when it comes to all this stuff. He's got a big smile on his face now, thinking, damn straight he's probably thinking. So, Doug, you want to tell us a bit more about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Michael Marmina, for Mornington. So, big compliment. Thank you for that. So my background in health and fitness, I grew up as the typical fat kid. Loved sport, loved football, cricket, a bit of tennis, soccer, all that sort of stuff. Mainly footy and cricket, but didn't like exercising. I remember, having to go on family bike rides from Yarra Junction to Warburton, and I'd be like, "Oh, this sucks." It's not a massive bike ride, but I just hated that. I hated movement. I didn't eat healthy. I sort of ate just like a lot of everything. So including healthy foods, but just ate lots of everything. Loved food. Then I got to a stage where I was like, I don't like this way of living. I want to change things. I was about 15 in year 9, I think.
That's about right.
I lost about 40 kilos of weight. And since then, I worked my ass off at school. I hated school. I got to a point where it's like, I want to be part of a football club, like an AFL club. So I got real busy with studying at school. Got a good ATO of about 81-ish, which got me just. It was 0.2 above what I needed. Lucky I aimed for 90 and I didn't get anywhere near 90. I just snuck in for the Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science at Deakin Uni, which at the time was rated #1 in the world for the school.
Yeah, Deakin with their sport and nutrition science.
So I only found out why the other week. It's because of their research. Deakin is one of the best researching.
Okay, because I didn't know. I was like, is this true? Like, are they like close to #1? What are they now? Do you know?
I don't know. They did the rankings. They rated it last year, and they did it for the year before. So it's 2015, but they did the rankings in 2016. So they do it a year behind.
Are they still #1?
I don't think so, but they would be up there. Long story short, they are elite. They're
one of the best in the world. They are.
In terms of exercise and sports science, we're not talking business or law.
A lot of research comes out of Australia and New Zealand in general for strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
Which is
bloody oath. I mean, Louis Burke, of course, from the AIS, or the AIS in general. You probably know a lot about them. New Zealand, I don't know their head sports science mob, but I know a couple of New Zealand nutrition researchers. Karen Jin, Grant Schofield, I think his name is Schofield. Something like that, not Schoenfield.
No.
But they're spot on the money. They know a lot of stuff. And also South Africa, you'd know about Tim Noakes. Forgetting his nutrition side, he's pretty big in terms of sports science as well. He's done a lot on marathon running.
Because a lot of US guys with big names come here to study.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of my background. I still love footy at the moment. That's the only sport I play. We got to a stage where I liked footy more than cricket. My brother went the other way. He liked cricket more than footy. So brothers, that's...
Was there a sibling rivalry?
Oh, there always is. Every time. I'm the better one.
Oh, God.
Because he goes for North Melbourne. He's a left-hander. He can't play
What's wrong with left-handers? I'm a left-hander.
Oh, okay, shit.
Awkward times.
But anyway, big shout-out to Rob Boxall. He's a great bloke. He's studying sports management at Federation Uni. And he came from a completely different path.
But you're all into it.
Yeah. Not all into the same, fitness sort of stuff.
You're into more like...
I'm definitely into the fitness performance training side of things, getting healthy in that.
Management business.
He's more
business?
Yeah, I think it's slightly towards business. I don't know a lot about it, but if you think about networking, and like that is important for any discipline, right?
Yes.
He's into that big time, and he's a gun when it comes to networking with professionals.
That's wicked.
So anyway, he went to CETA as well, so he didn't do VCE. So completely different pathways.
CETA's the
sport education development academy.
And I had a friend who I think I had a friend who went. I think she went there.
So he did that for cricket, and over in Doncaster and then Don Vale, might have been the other way around. So completely different pathways. So at the moment, again, I've still got I say I lost 40 kilos of weight, but that probably more paints a picture of how bad I used to be. Because at the moment, and this isn't deprecating at all, it's just being honest, I haven't got a six-pack, I'm not the best person ever.
But
six pack's a big statement, but like, you know, my BMI is still in 30 point something, so I'm not the skinniest bloke around. And BMI we know has confounders, but the point is, I've got a lot more work to do. So there were things, I like to think, if I'm an expert in anything, which I'm not many people are experts, even the experts themselves, you know, I mean, there's that many things we don't know in general. Like, no one knows everything, but if there's anything I'm an expert in, it's how to implement things badly.
What are you talking about? Tell me,
some things I've done well, but like, so my weight loss journey, a lot of people hear about it, they're like, 40 kilos, well, that's massive, that's heaps. They don't realise, like, it wasn't me, you know, for a whole, like, 2 years eating, like, exactly 1,800 calories a day and, like, you know, not ever touching sugar or fat or anything. Like, it was more like, we'd sit down with the PT after a week, we'd look at my log for every day for eating.
PT.
And we'd highlight probably about 5 or 6 things, sometimes maybe 10 or 12 that I shouldn't have ate, you know, the bad things.
Yes.
So I never really
like
had a
things
perfect
that are probably
week.
high in calories and easy to eat.
Things that we, now I since I've learned a lot more about nutrition, I disagree with some of the bad things. So one that has a lot of debate about is saturated fat.
Yep.
But the point is, forgetting what actually was bad and good at the time, there were things we were aiming for, and I never had a perfect week. There was always a week.
I don't think that that's a very realistic thing to expect of people.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, what is a perfect week?
But further down the track, it matters a bit more. So especially if we talk about low carb nutrition, which, you know, is something I'm a bit passionate about and I've looked into big time. Something like that, if you're looking at being in ketosis, it's not a case of, oh, you know, I think I might just have a Mars bar tonight, you know, only one. But like, you know, it's that 20, 30 grams of sugar can easily, you know, be bad. If you're eating that much fat and that much saturated fat, that small increase in sugar or carbohydrate can be really dangerous. It can, the glucose molecules can adhere to the cholesterol molecules. That can generate, you know, inflammation cascade and really be bad for you. So it's, if you're going strictly very low carb, you can't have the attitude of, oh, you know, I can be let off the leash sometimes, you know, weekend, I can have a beer or two, you know. It's a case of, no, you're following something. You have to follow that.
Are these very...
It's not a case of being a perfectionist and being like...
Yeah, are these very minute details though? Or are these things that, like, in research have shown to, like, confound in the long term?
So a good analogy would be, if you look at the law of diminishing returns, I think applies to a lot of things.
Yeah, that's not like just because that's used in strength and conditioning practice.
It's kind of like the further you get towards like being elite, like the more you improve, the more the small things matter, like in terms of further improvement. So like if you get a novice, like who's never squatted, never looked at a bar, you can pretty much get him to just about look at a barbell.
Yeah, and they will improve doing
you know, you can get him doing like 3 sets of 80 reps of like 2 kilos and he'll get stronger. Whereas you get like Gary Ablett or like, you know, or David Warner, you know, you get an elite athlete in and it's like, shit has to be a lot more
You might even stuff them up, you know what I mean? Like, you might do something...
Exactly.
Like, that's not something that they would usually do and they could regress because they're so elite.
So I'm not saying I'm an elite athlete in terms of weight loss, but I am, you know, I've been into health and fitness for about 5 years now. I did have that big transformation with the weight loss. I'm further down the track. I'm getting to the point where things matter a bit more and where I just need to be a bit more disciplined. So I'm not saying I've done a terrible job of implementing things. I'm just saying there have been times where I've done the wrong thing. And you know what? I've learned from that. There's a great saying that I believe Michael Clark said it. Big shout out to my uncle Gnu, Gary Boxall. He was the one that told me. And I remember the night he told me, it was either Christmas or Boxing Day at my mum and dad's house. He said that the saying goes, I've never failed at anything. I've just learnt how to do it better next time. So that's the attitude I have.
That's what I was about to tell you. Also, I mean, I used to say and do things, even when I was into the sciences, that I look back on now and I'm like, probably a better way to do that with the research and the understanding that I have now. But that's all I knew back then.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at the time, that's something that I was like, that's probably a good way to go about whatever we're talking about, and I'm going to do that. I'm trying to think of an example, but I can't. And if I do think of one, I'll interrupt you rudely. And
I do that to people a lot as well.
That's why, you know, you keep it going, which is good. That's why he hasn't shut up. It's been like friggin' 10 minutes. Did you even breathe? That was really good.
Well, there's a lot of... So we talk about health and fitness being multifactorial. Me talking a lot is multifactorial. So first of all, there's caffeine, which I'll go into my coffee recipe later. It's very new. I've revolutionised coffee. But Big shout out to James Dickey, who, by the way, he works at, I forget the name of the gym, but it's in Camberwell. He's based from Geelong, but he works at Camberwell.
So he travels,
knows a lot of, he does.
How long is that to travel?
I can't remember. I've gone down to Geelong a lot to train with him and other people.
That is keen.
That is keen.
That is very keen.
By the way, listeners, me and Michael and also James and a lot of people will talk about on the podcast here, all interned at Woodford Sports Science
and we said that on Jared's.
Yeah, that's where Jared as well.
And like I said, on Jared's, like we met a lot of people through there who are very passionate and like-minded, which is awesome to see. And it's a very exciting time in fitness because there's a lot of very educated people coming out of, not saying that we are super educated, but observationally, I can make observations saying that like there definitely is a change. Yeah. You know, there really is a push for high quality personal training practice.
Mm-hmm. And from memory, there was about 130 interns in that internship alone for that 6 months in March 2015 onwards. Fine. So like, you think about how long Woodford's been doing that. They're churning out a lot of good people. Anyway, so me talking a lot. So I also have a background in radio, community radio, nothing like...
Do you actually do?
I do, yeah. So I had...
Can you tell us about...
I can, and there's a Facebook page for it still. It's not really active, but you can look it up. It's called Boxing On. That was the name of the show. It's me and my brother Robbie. We started when I was about 12. So I started on, this is Yarra Valley FM, community radio. So I'm from the Yarra Valley, grew up in Yarra Junction. That's kind of like the other side of the Dandenong Ranges, if people don't know where that is. Warburton and all that area. And so I got on the radio when I was about 12. I used to be on the Friday night sports show with Billy Heppel. And I'd be little 12-year-old Dougie reading out the local cricket scores for the under-12s and all that. And then that progressed to us having our own show, which we got into music pretty big time. For those that know me, most people will know I'm the biggest fan ever in the world in the history of the universe of ACDC. Since then, I've also cultured myself to liking the Angels and Muse. And I'm going to see Muse in December this year.
What do you like about Muse?
Everything.
Really?
Their songs are amazing. So I'm a big fan of hard rock and mostly guitar.
I used to be a very big, like I used to love hard rock.
Yep.
Like I used to just flat out listen to hard rock only because I think a lot of the time because I was into pro wrestling. I still am into pro wrestling, but it's a very hard rock influenced.
Yep.
And not as much now, which is unfortunate. Now it's like friggin' Pitbull.
Yeah.
But like back in the day, in the 90s and 2000s, had a very hard rock, and then everything did really in the 90s. You'd pick up a video game and the soundtrack was hard rock and hip hop. Yeah. That was the soundtrack on any sort of like.
It's not video games too. You look at like Tony Hawk's Underground.
I was about to bring up Tony Hawk's. They have that soundtrack. Tell you what, that was such a good soundtrack, and it had like Johnny Cash on it. It had Ring of Fire.
So I'm actually into a lot of different music, but mainly hard rock. I'm happy to listen to classical or blues or whatever, which a lot of people don't know, including my family probably don't know.
I like a bit of
blues. I've been to the opera, I've been to the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, and I can say any genre, it does not matter what genre it is, if you see a professional, it's amazing, it's mind-blowing.
Who is the best like musician / artist of all time? You can say a band. Who?
You asked my opinion?
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, I'd probably have to say ACDC. I am kind of biased, but honestly, they're innovative.
You picked them. That's your favourite.
You can't say they're at their peak now, but it's very...
No, they're not.
No, but seriously, for a second, they still do a bloody good job. And
no, they do.
They've got their thing. They know what works. They're amazing, and they're actually very big themselves on not having niches and mastering the basics, but they do have a lot of niches which are cool. Like Angus wears the school uniform. Yeah. He drops his dacks in the middle. He does
do that.
He doesn't. He drops his shorts nowadays, but he actually used to get naked.
I was going
to say. He did used to do it in the 70s and that. Now it's not quite acceptable.
Now it's probably not something you want to do, especially at his age.
Oh yeah, of course. But they've got the whole the rock and roll train and the whole stage set and like the whole lot of Rosie inflatable doll, and they've got their niches which work so well, and they've got they know what they're doing, and the other thing is they're elite. Like,
do you listen to ACDC when you work out?
I do.
We should have put ACDC.
If you look at Angus Young, you look up his tutorials on the internet of him playing ACDC songs on acoustic guitar, like. ACDC are not an acoustic guitar band, right?
But that would be cool. That would sound.
The thing is, they're great musicians. They can
so
do anything. He can do a lot of stuff. ACDC songs a lot of people think they're all the same, which they are to a sense. And they're all 3-chord songs, but in a way they're complex in that they're a band that you can't cover. So the Beatles are a band that a lot of people cover successfully. Look, the Zoot did Eleanor Rigby. That was with Rick Springfield, Jesse's girl. So the Zoot did Eleanor Rigby. U2 have done Helter Skelter. Like, a lot of bands have successfully covered the Beatles. Aerosmith did, I don't know the name of the song, but it's one of my favourites. It's like that, that
Would not have a clue.
help. Come Together, that's it.
Oh, Come Together. I love Come Together.
That's probably my favourite Beatles song, and I'm not a big Beatles fan. But ACDC are completely different, whereas bands who cover them, I think everyone knows School of Rock with Jack Black doing a long note at the top. Jack Black is a great musician and a great comedian and actor.
I love Jack Black. I think
that is nothing compared to Bon Scott. Like,
no?
They're unique. They're very unique. Their songs are simple to play. It's like pool, the snooker pool.
Yeah.
It's easy to be good at. It's so incredibly difficult to be the best.
To be very good, yeah.
That's ACDC.
I've watched some. Have you ever seen like a snooker championship match?
I have looked up a lot of our trick shots. And
it's incredible. Like,
my dad.
I don't even know how they do it. It looks like bullshit.
Yeah. So big shout out to Ken Boxall as well. He was actually the president of the Manhattan Pool Club back in, I think, #91. So he played competition pool.
You've got like
I've done
fairly big family history.
We've done it all.
I was going to say, radio hosts, pool champions.
We've just done a little bit of it. It's kind of like S&C coach, we're a jack of all trades.
Yes, good point.
But yeah, so he is nowhere near a shade of his peak at the moment from memory. No offence to him, but like, he's not at the height of his powers. But he does things that I can't do and can't dream of doing, and that's what pool is. Like, the elite level, and it's same with poker, which I'm going to mention another family member, and this guy is somewhat famous, I suppose you could say, or well known. Leo Boxall, my grandfather, he's actually in the Australian Hall of Fame for poker.
Really?
So he's played in a lot of places in the world.
That is cool.
He's won a lot of big tournaments. He's done some really cool stuff. Again, poker's another one.
I was not ready for this.
Last Father's Day, we all played poker at my mum and dad's house, and I got knocked out first. But
I've never played poker.
It's another game where it's easy. Well, maybe not easy, but you can do well at it. But to be the best, to be one of the top elite, it is so difficult to master. Just like
I would not even know where to start with poker. We should have played poker.
There's a lot of different types of poker. I know Texas Hold'em, which I think is what my grandfather plays a fair bit. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's the one I know. Which is it's a hard game. I suck at it. I'll put it out there. I'm probably one of the worst poker players in the history of the universe. But it's a tough game to master. It's one of those things where you can be somewhat good at it, but to master.
Do you have a poker face?
No.
Do you actually struggle? Do you struggle?
Oh no, I don't think I give away a lot. I don't know. I couldn't tell. That's that's part of the game itself. To be a good poker player.
I remember my friend used to follow poker, and he was saying there was a bloke that would wear like his shirt up above his
That's interesting.
mouth,
I'm not
and
sure
you
if
could
that's
only
legal
see. I don't know if it's true.
I think from memory you're allowed to wear sunglasses.
Yeah, I've seen. I don't know. Look, I don't even know where to start with poker.
Yeah, but with my poker face, I try and sort of do the opposite of what I got. I suppose, like, I don't know.
I would just make dumb faces the whole time.
Yeah, that's
like,
pretty much me.
And then no one would know what is going on.
A lot of smiling, which I'm doing now. But yeah, so with the radio, I ended up being there for 5 years, and so me and my brother got our own show. We originally called it the Rob and Doug Show because we didn't know a name.
That's a good name.
We had a better
What's
name,
wrong with that?
so we came up with Boxing On for several
That's
reasons.
cool.
One, our last name is Boxall. Two, we're brothers. We have that sibling rivalry. We box on. Three, our theme song was Eye of the Tiger.
That's cool.
By the cover by the X Factor winner Altian Childs. If anyone remembers him.
I remember he did a cover of that.
The cover is sick. It is amazing.
I'm going to listen to it while
I love Survivor, and Survivor are they're basically a one-hit wonder in this country, but they've got a lot of hits and a lot of good songs.
Do they actually have different songs? I did not know that
anyone who's a music buff, especially 80s metal or rock, or just hard rock guitar music in general, look up Survivor.
Is that your favourite genre? The 80s sort of...
I love 80s. I like anything with guitars. Getting back to... I'm fairly cultured in music. I mean that seriously. In terms of... I love rock and metal. That's my favourite stuff. But if it's got guitar, I'll listen to it.
Cool.
With the radio, I had the luxury of one day meeting Johnny Diesel, Mark Lizotte, who is, if you don't know, Jimmy Barnes' brother-in-law. He himself is a national rock star. His biggest hit was Tip of My Tongue. I was able to interview him on Boxing On, which was amazing.
Really? Like, did he come into the studio, or was it a call?
It was over the phone. He was in Sydney, but I did meet him in person beforehand. Because he played a gig at Ringwood at at 5-Star Music, a music guitar shop, which is where I was doing work experience for school at the time. I was lucky enough to meet him and asked him, hey, do you want an interview? And yeah, and honestly, I think me and my brother were pretty successful on the radio, but it was community radio. It was not massive at all. To get someone like him was unbelievable. And the interview I've still got, I can put it on Facebook or whatever. So maybe people look out for that if you want to hear it or whatever. It's from when I was probably about 15, so I sound a lot younger. I remember asking him, what do you do when you make a mistake? And he kind of half jokingly had a go at me and be like, what do you mean? And I've gone, oh no, oh my God, what did I say?
Sort of. You asked him what he does if he makes a mistake.
But yeah, no, well, now looking back, it's like, it didn't matter. He was playing mind games, like he joked, he was joking.
It was a joke.
But at the time, I'm so young and like, I'm talking to like one of my heroes basically, and I'm like, holy crap. On that note though, so what I'm trying to get to is that he's a guy where I like his music. If he comes on the radio, I'll be like, oh yeah, cool. But I wouldn't put him on like a CD. I wouldn't deliberately listen to him. But yet, seeing him live, he's late 80s, early 90s stuff. So he's been around for a bit. He can do a lot of amazing stuff. I think he covered a Hendrix song that night. I can't remember.
That's cool.
But in terms of like effects pedals and like the engineering side of music, his knowledge is so broad. And again, a guy who I'm not a massive fan of. I enjoy his stuff, but he's not in my top 3.
No.
Seeing him live was one of the best experiences of my life.
Far out.
A professional musician live, no matter what genre, and again, my dad
because they put a lot of energy and passion into
exactly, and they're that good. They've been doing it for that long. That they have the skill.
Cool.
My dad was lucky enough to see Pink with my sister. My sister's a big Pink fan. Dad is not at all a big Pink fan.
But she is a great performer.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
My dad loved it. It was amazing. So yeah, I do love music. I do play guitar. There's a few videos on me on
I've
Facebook.
seen them.
I'm a bit of a hack, but you know what? I can do a couple things, and I've been doing them for about 7 or 8 years. So the things I can do well-ish. I can't so I'm going to get a little bit technical, not much, but I can't sweep pick. There's a lot of chords I struggle with, especially bar chords. But you know what? I can play power chords and I can play the pentatonic scale, and that is all you need to know to cover ACDC. So that makes me happy. That makes me happy.
That and lifting weights.
Yep.
Yep.
So yeah, probably getting back more to the health and fitness side. See
how we segued then? I did that on purpose.
Good work, because I was never going to do that.
I know. I had to steer you to the more health and fitness related topics. But at the end of the day, this podcast is really all about just talking shit. It's what we've been doing. Because even there's an episode that will go up. I film these episodes in advance for people who are wondering. Yep. You are going to be episode God knows what.
I like that. Can we title it that?
We will title it. I'll think of a title.
Nice.
But they usually just get put in every week.
Yep.
I've lost my train of thought. There you go. But we're going to move on to fitness. That's what we're going to talk about. Do you want to start? What do you want to start talking about?
Well, I did mention caffeine earlier.
Okay, let's start there.
So again,
it's always a good way to start the day, so why not start?
So maybe I should just go through what my health day is. And it is kind of random, depending on whether I work.
But that's good though, because it needs to be flexible.
Yeah.
Like, how can you stick to such a rigid structure?
Exactly. I do need a bit more consistency. I think that harks back to the discipline I talked about earlier. But so ideally, I would like to have a day where I just everything sort of not the same, but like similar, structured. But that's not life. Life is random, it's chaotic like sport. So I mentioned caffeine earlier, which is another reason that in the radio why I talk a lot. So my coffee at the moment, what I do is I like cold coffee. I'm not a fan of hot coffee. So iced lattes is my go. And also I don't know a lot of the technical terms as well with coffee. I haven't looked into coffee itself much, but basically I hated caffeine or coffee itself growing up, the taste of it. A couple of years ago, I got to the point where it's one of the, I think, and I don't know if you'll agree with me here, you might, it's one of the few things in nutrition that's proven to be good stuff.
I agree. Yeah. So, like even from a performance perspective, if we look at athletic performance, caffeine comes back with some pretty robust evidence for improving athletic performance, whether it be a nervous system response, which is usually what it is. Like it usually decreases perceived rate of exertion.
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't dehydrate us. A lot of people,
it might
caffeine, having caffeine by itself is a diuretic, but you never have caffeine by itself.
Exactly.
It's usually in a pre-workout. It's usually in with coffee, which is like 250 mils of some sort of liquid, and even if it's with like a low-fat milk or any sort of milk, it's going to be over 90% H2O.
Yep.
Right. So and I think it's 80 mil of water loss. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Excuse me.
Right. 80 mil it has an 80 mil diuretic effect. Right. I think I can't really.
I wouldn't be able.
Let's use that as an example. Let's say it has like a 100 mil diuretic effect, but you consume it with 250 mil of liquid, you've got 150 ml liquid
Exactly.
gain. So
Still
it's not does not
Still a
dehydrate you.
surplus of liquid if you
Yes,
use it that way.
correct, 100%.
So yeah, I'm going to name drop a lot here. This is one of my biggest claim to fame in terms of fitness and strength and conditioning people I've met. I went to a seminar by Darren Burgess earlier this year. For those that don't know, ex or current, I can't remember, high performance manager of Port Adelaide Football Club, going or gone, one of the other two, Arsenal Football Club. I don't like calling them a football club because it's soccer. We won't get into
controversy.
that. Yeah, well, I'm a big footy fan, so there you go. Anyway, so the point is, one of the best S&C coaches in the country. Really good bloke. So one thing he said about nutrition was he named 4 things that, in his opinion, have been proven to work time and time again. Green tea. So I thought, okay,
for
interesting.
what?
He just said.
He just said green tea.
He just said naming the things that, there's a lot of studies on nutritional things. MCT oil was one that you'd probably think is a bit grey area.
That is very...
Or a bit controversial.
You can tell us about that.
But there's a lot of things in nutrition where it's like this doesn't work here, but it does there. What's going on there? Contradicting, or maybe it just doesn't work at all, and people think it does. But the 4 things that have been proven to work, I don't want to say no matter what, but pretty much.
I like to use that there is a robust.
Yeah, robust is a great word.
Robust, right?
It's evidence based. He named 4 things: green tea, creatine, protein, and caffeine.
Cool.
So it's interesting they all kind of rhyme.
That's why they work though, because they rhyme.
Yeah,
like if they didn't rhyme, they wouldn't work.
Yeah, of course. Green tea doesn't quite rhyme, but it sounds similar. There's a word for that phenomenon. I can't remember what it is. When something sounds similar but doesn't rhyme. Tangent.
Who cares?
Okay, yeah, who cares?
Yes,
anyway,
we are not. This is not English.
Sorry about that. So I got to a point a couple of years ago where I was like, I hate coffee, but you know what? It's what I consider talking much good shit. That is a technical term for me.
It is.
I have to get
you
into...
You can do a PhD on good shit.
Yeah, I have to get into coffee. So my coffee nowadays, getting back to it, took a long time to get here, is almond milk or coconut milk.
Yep.
Not necessarily for the low carb side.
Why do you have that?
It's low in calories, which again isn't also for the weight loss or fat loss side. It's more for the fasting.
Okay.
So my caloric amount in coffee is probably a bit too much to stay fasted, but it'll allow me to get into another fasted state later
and
on
really,
quicker.
like fasting, like you can totally disagree with me, and you've said a bunch of stuff that I disagree with, and I've just sort of let you run rampant. But really, fasting for me is just a lot of the time people have to have bigger meals, right? And if they eat smaller meals throughout the day, they tend to overconsume calories.
Yeah.
So what I like to use fasting for, and I've seen like the rap models and stuff and all that. But what I would use fasting for clients is they can eat more later on in the day and they will still be in a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. Not for some magical friggin' physiological reason, but for a behavioural reason.
Yeah.
Would you agree or?
Yeah, no, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Some people show, I think there's a bit of myth about eating 6 meals a day, stokes the metabolic fire. That's one of the things I hate
stroke the metabolic fire.
Oh, I hate it. Long story short.
You know what though? Where did that come from? Because I tried to find.
I don't know.
I think I remember someone talking about. I don't even know where to start.
No idea.
But I have heard someone say that yes, there is something out there that could tell us that is the case, but it's crap evidence, and when you account for calories and protein and everything, sort of seems to be the same.
Yeah, so it's a preference thing. It's an individual thing.
Yes.
If you work best eating 6 small meals a day, do it.
Then do it. It's a lifestyle choice that you can adhere to for the longest time you can.
For me, I like to eat 2 pretty big meals a day.
Yeah.
And I do think there's a benefit for intermittent fasting. That doesn't mean you can't do your 6 meals a day. It's all about time frame and all that. But again, fasting itself has a preference thing as well. Some people can do massive greater than 24-hour fast, which is something I haven't looked into and want to.
I've seen that. I saw a bloke who was very lean, and I think he was like a fitness model, but he would do like 48 hours. I think it was like 48 hours. He'd have huge. He would pretty much eat whatever he wanted for one day.
And for some people, that just, in terms of implementation,
I would die.
It works.
He would eat so much food, and then the next day he wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
And then the day after he would eat again.
Yeah, because for some people it's like, oh well, I don't have to worry about food if I'm not eating it, and there you go. It's a lot more practical for some people, not everyone.
I don't think I'm starving now. Like it's not something that you know what I mean. It's just not something I could do.
I did eat before coming in, but I do train fasted sometimes.
I do, or I have a black coffee, which is still fasted, sort of.
Yeah. Well, some people talk about fat fasting and then just complete fasting. Fat fasting is, or even, so I remember reading from James Clear, which is where I got the 8 hours, 16 hours fasting type thing, which is pretty common. Got that from him. He said if you can take in less than 50 calories of whatever, you can still be fasted. So that's the idea with me having the almond and coconut milk.
And this is where I get a little bit like, there are too many definitions.
50, I'm not saying it's black and white, the difference between 50 and 51, like it's negligible.
Yeah, no, I mean
it's
like,
not that, but
there are just too many different definitions of the same thing.
Yeah.
And then we get a little bit confused and we don't look at the bigger picture. And for me, the bigger picture is facilitating like a calorie deficit with an increased protein intake while promoting lean mass and strength gains through a systemized resistance training program. That is very basic. It's so basic, you know what I mean? Like this is not, there's more to it than that, but that's something that generally I get people to do and stick to.
With caloric deficits, and
Here
there is
we
the whole,
go. Let's do it.
Look, okay, I'm not going to say that calories don't matter. I'm very in the middle of this, to be honest. I'm very good
you never used to be.
No, well,
You
exactly.
weren't.
I'm very good at convincing people I'm black and white. I'm actually not. I talk like I am, but I really am
And
not.
you have to, you have to acknowledge both sides of the coin.
Exactly. So I've read the reviews and the studies by a couple, by Richard Feynman, who's he knows about the whole energy type stuff, thermodynamics, and this is another, I think, out of scope practice type of thing. Whether legally it is or not, I don't know, but people who use thermodynamics to justify eating a certain dietary pattern is kind of silly, because you're a nutritionist or dietitian or PT or whatever, you're not a physicist,
Yeah, I get it.
And there are flaws with using the first law of thermodynamics to justify a calorie is a calorie.
Do you want to define a few of these terms for the listeners?
Yes. Okay. So word for word, I might get them slightly
No,
wrong.
but just in general.
Yep. So first law of thermodynamics basically states that energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transported. It can only
That was a
around.
pretty wicked definition. You said you would butcher it, but
thank you.
that
the
was
second
pretty
law,
good.
There's 4 laws. There's the 0th law, the first, the second, and the third law. I think that's all. Again, I'm not an expert at all on thermodynamics. The second law, which is where I really don't quite understand it, but the second law is kind of like, so the low carb dudes in general, the people who say like calories don't matter for losing weight, and it's not just a case of don't worry about counting calories, they're saying actually, I think they're saying that the calories and calorie deficits don't matter themselves, which I'm not too sure about. They go big on the second.
I would disagree.
I somewhat disagree too, somewhat don't, somewhat do, but they're big on the second law of thermodynamics, which relates to a thing called entropy. And this is where I probably will butcher it.
That's all right.
It's kind of about I think it's, and the other thing is a lot of these laws are in the context of an isolated system. The human body is not an isolated system.
No.
So it's a complex system. So that kind of changes a lot of things. It's kind of like you can't expect perfect efficiency, 100% efficiency. So yes, energy can be only transported, not created or destroyed.
But my biggest contention,
I think that's about entropy.
My biggest contention with all this is that how much does this really matter in the grand scheme of things?
It's a good question. For me, I think a caloric deficit should be the aim for like if you're looking to lose fat, it probably should be the aim. But one, I think macronutrient composition does matter. 2,
I do. I think you think I'm a calorie only guy.
No, I don't.
But I think. Oh, actually, go. Sorry.
No, that's right. I think at the end of the day, you need to look at. And again, some people might do well counting calories and all that, but I think you need to look at caloric deficit being the effect, not the cause. What I mean by like it might cause fat loss, but I mean don't deliberately be like, okay, you need to eat 500 calories less a day, for example. Like, make sure you do that sort of thing, focus on that. I think it should be more about other things, indirect ways of getting to that deficit. So things like actually chewing your food. Big shout out to Troy Benson in Fit Gula, who he has done so
I think I know what you're about to get at.
He's big on chewing your food, and he's learned it from, forget the guy's name, which is bad of me.
Which is really funny that you say, like, I've relearned to chew my food. But in a day and age where we just friggin' eat everything, you know what I mean? It's really easy to just shove something down.
Fast food is promoted, people who eat and drive, which I actually do a fair bit.
And when you're, it's almost like you're subconsciously consuming food whilst watching television. You can eat so much more. You know what I mean? If you sit down at the dinner table with the family and you do like the conventional family dinner, you will eat less than if you were to sit in front of the television watching Netflix and eat food.
Which is also a great mental thing if you listen to the dudes on the radio, Sabina Reed and that other dude who talk about the psychology stuff on the radio.
Yeah, and I think
that's another great thing for mental health.
Yes, I think we're in agreement that a calorie deficit will primarily augment fat loss. Primarily, like if you wouldn't disagree on sort of like a super physiological level, we can go right into it.
Yeah.
You know, you'd probably know more about that than I would. But it's all about these, adherable is not a word.
Yeah.
Adherable behaviours change that you can stick to long term that are really important.
Exactly. And that's probably where I think you might know more. But with that, you know, what was I going to say? Some people might, counting calories and really actually focusing on the caloric deficit might be a great idea. But I think for most people, the aim should be more to, like, you need that, it's a thing, but like, don't go nuts about it. Try and do the other things like cold thermogenesis, like just physical activity.
You can
look at more of the burning calorie side of things. Maybe.
I'll explain.
Yeah, that's an oversimplistic way of putting it, so I apologise for that. But
no, it's not.
What I mean is, so things like cold thermogenesis, which we'll get into shortly. Things like chewing your food more.
Dude, this stuff I like. I really think that's a really good idea.
It's not just a case of...
Or consuming a lot more vegetables to keep you fuller.
Or fibre, you know things like that.
Yes.
Or even if you just look at, say you look at meat, within meat there's different types of meat which will fuel you up as well. I mean, if you go for something high in protein, I won't necessarily say low in fat, but...
not generally.
Well, if you look at a grass-fed steak...
That's pretty fatty.
It's fatty, and I actually think that's great, to be honest. A lot of people...
A lot of people would heckle you for that
exactly.
sort of... Yeah.
Because there's a lot of low-fat... look, I'm going to say it, dogma. There's a lot of low-fat dogma around.
Yeah, there is. I would agree. With the whole saturated fat thing, I think we'd agree.
But if you look at a grass-fed steak versus the beef, not the whole thing, but the beef in a hamburger from a fast food restaurant, they're completely different. Like the beef and they will have different implications.
And you don't really know how they make the patty. Like we're talking about like a beef patty.
Yeah.
Like that has carbs in it sometimes because they use breadcrumbs and stuff to get together. Yeah.
A lot of people, even from even supermarkets, you know, sausages and whatnot, will probably have that as well. There are people who
they do. Like everyone's like, oh, sausages are low in carbohydrates, and I'm like, but you don't know that. Like literally, do you not? Like I know people used to work in butcher shops, and like sausages are the freaking shit that's left on the table.
I know one
just pack it up and just roll it up.
Yeah.
And that could still have breadcrumbs and everything in it from like other, like you don't know what's in a sausage.
Back in the day when I used to count calories...
It's a bit more regulated now, like it's not as crap.
Yeah, true. But am I allowed to name someone here or like a company?
Is it going to be negative?
Maybe slightly. Probably,
no.
Okay, I won't. So there's a pretty well-known supermarket chain that I used to, like looking up what's in their sausages, like the macros and that, they have per sausage 10 grams of carbs. And I'm like, I can eat literally, I could probably smash down 20 snags.
I would smash it, you know what I mean?
They're one of them foods that, that's another thing people need to look at, certain foods that just trigger you. For me, that's like a trigger food.
I used to be, pizza was like, I used to be in, like a family pizza. You know how big a more. Do you know how big a family slice is? It's huge.
Yeah.
It's pretty big, like not for me, I'd smash it. But I would eat like 13, 14 slices of a family pizza and I would legit look fatter the next. It was all water weight. Yeah. I would piss it out. But but like I would look worse and feel crap. You know, not because pizza is bad, but because pizza's not bad, pizzas get around it. But I would just feel bad about myself and oh my god, I binge ate and yada yada yada. Now, because I'm a little more flexible with my diet, I don't feel like I have to binge.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with eating a slice of pizza. Sometimes I'll have like my conventionally healthy meal, whether it be lower in fat or higher in fat. When I think conventionally healthy, I just think like it's high in protein.
Yep.
It depends on the time I'm eating it, but for the most part, people are like timing. I thought timing was irrelevant, but sometimes it is. It depends on the person. It depends on the context that we're talking about it. Yeah. But just generally high in fiber, lots of vegetables, and conventionally like whatever conventionally healthy source of carbohydrates that I would consume with it. And the fat takes care of itself because I usually have it with a meat sauce, and if I want to add sauce, that's generally fatty. So that's a conventionally healthy meal for me. You know what I mean? Like high in protein, high in fiber, high in vegetables, and then I just I add fat and carbs with what I like. Yep. I just fill the rest of the calories with what I enjoy eating. Yep, I don't really overthink. If I was an elite bodybuilder and I needed to optimize my body composition, you know, I would be all about like doing these minute things to get me the results I need. But I'm not. I just want to be like lean and fit. So I don't give a shit.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I consume enough protein to like augment gains or maintenance of lean mass, mostly gains, which I actually think that you can consume a little less protein in a gaining massing phase because you're consuming so many other nutrients that are protein sparing. So why do I have to overconsume protein?
Yep.
If we look at, is it Jose Antonio? Have you ever heard of his?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
that very
definitely.
interesting
Yep.
research? He had participants consume 4.4 grams per kilogram per day of protein.
Yep.
There was no changes in body composition, right?
Yep.
Of course, but they had 800 calories over maintenance, right? All from protein, and didn't get fatter.
That's interesting.
How
See, and there
interesting
you
is that?
go. Maybe calories to a point, you know, I won't say they don't matter, but maybe there's something.
They
in the
matter.
water.
I think they definitely matter. They are
But
like the
macronutrient composition matters.
Okay,
There we
you want
go.
to talk
And
about
that's
you
what
can
you just said, basically.
macronutrient composition matters to an extent, and I think it's a little more behavioural than a lot of people make out. So Eric Helms is a really good way of breaking it down, and this is what I gathered from his 3DMJ Down Under seminar that JPS hosted.
Yep.
Right. It depends on who we're talking to. So if it's an elite bodybuilder, then you track pretty much the whole shebang.
Yep.
Carbs, calories, fat, and protein. If it's someone who just wants to get recreationally leaner and likes lifting, they calculate calories and protein. If it's someone who just wants to lose fat, it's calories. They just count calories, right? And then you, as a coach, need to promote, like, you know, you probably consume a little bit more protein, have shakes around your training and stuff. Not because you need to have shakes around your training, but because it's just an easy way for people to get protein in. They have a shake, and then there's 30 to 40 grams of protein, boom. Then they have a steak, and there's another 30 to 40 grams of protein, depending on the side, maybe even up to 60 grams of protein. You know, and then they just have protein feedings throughout the day, but they mostly count calories. Then if you want to be a little bit more advanced, you count calories and protein. And then if you want to be all about it, you count calories, protein, carbs, and fat. Does that make sense? It's more of a behavioural thing.
Makes a lot of sense.
But macronutrient composition of the diet matters because if you don't consume enough protein and you just lose weight, you will most likely not be a lean individual. You'll probably just be skinny. Especially if you don't lift weights, then you just lose weight. Would you agree?
I do.
Okay, cool.
Just a quick little, I suppose, disclaimer you could say, especially on the topic of calories, which it is a complex topic. It is, I think, pretty grey. And this is very typical of a strength and conditioning coach, being a jack of all trades sort of thing. When it comes to health, I sort of take little bits here and there. Grounding is a great example, which I'll quickly talk about. So it's kind of like a lot of people who wear shoes or walk on like man-made surfaces are sort of disconnected from the earth on an electron scale. So they don't get enough negative electrons into their body, and so there's an imbalance. A great person to understand this from is Dr. Jack Kruse. He talks about thermodynamics and everything. He knows so much about it. The point I'm trying to make is that not only am I not an expert, but there are things that it's like, that works for that person, let's experiment with it. It works really cool. I don't need to know the whole topic. It's just little bits. It's like the almond milk. You know, it's a little bit low in calories. It helps me stay a little bit fasted. I like the taste.
Are you hungry when you have it? No.
Exactly.
And you can eat. You don't eat as much.
Exactly. Some people might be like, I want to know more. Like with the grounding thing, especially because it probably sounds like a bit fad-like. People will be like, oh, how exactly does it work?
It is. This is not something that I would agree with or condone, but this is not about me getting you on here to shut you down. This is about you getting on here so you can talk about things that you like.
It's a case of, well, look, I heard about it. I worked out how to do it. I'm doing it. It works for me. I don't really need to know a lot more about it. So there are some topics where people might think I know so much about it because it's maybe unknown or what I call underground, like grounding. It's not a common thing. But the reality is I know a little tiny bit about it. And there are so many topics like that. Cold thermogenesis is another. I'm not at all an expert. There are things I know about it, which a lot of people might not know. But like, you know, it's kind of like I know like 5% about like 30 topics sort of thing. And I agree. People sort of think I know like 50.
This is what I tell people. You play Mario Kart?
No, I don't, but I have played
You understand, I'm Mario. I can do everything sort of good. Right? But I can't accelerate really quickly, or I can't do those cool drifts around the corner. But if you ask me something, I can generally answer the question.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Look, I can't go in depth with, like, my contentions on nutrition just lie with really, like, what we fundamentally know with reference to some pretty meaningful and relevant research, like a recent one that came out with where we had, I think it was like Alan and Schoenfeld all got together and they did like a big mineral analysis and all like conventionally, conventionally diets that people conventionally participate in, and then when they match calories and protein, the results were pretty much the same across the board.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of where my contentions come from. Like meta-analysis, very general stuff, and then I sort of go from there. And if someone presents me with some more information, I look into it and I devise my own conclusions. I'm very critical about things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we go from there.
On the topic of Alan Aragon, yeah?
Yes.
Yep. Obviously, I probably haven't, obviously for you, I probably need to look into more of his stuff, but I did find, and I'm not sure if you sent me this or if I found it, but I once watched a discussion or debate with him and Jeff Volek. And these are guys who are kind of they're kind of polar opposites in one sense.
But they are just two, how would you even describe them?
They're like kind of like godfathers of what they know.
Yeah.
Jeff Volek, for those that don't know, is very, very big into ketogenic stuff, which is something I've dabbled with a little bit.
I think it's an article.
Sorry?
Isn't it like a back and forth article? Or
Might
is it
be,
a
but
video?
I watched the
or
video.
is it Gary Tobbs?
No. It's I can't find. I believe there was one with Alan.
There is one of the. Yeah.
I couldn't find that.
No, I think that was at a seminar, and you're not going to see that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's out there.
But the one with Jeff Volek and Alan Aragon, it's pretty amazing. I would definitely look that up. And there's another one as well with it's 4 people, 2 on both sides, and it's more based around. So the one with Aragon and Volek was more about carbohydrates and low carb diets, and that for athletes as well. When people talk about low carb, a lot of the times they might be, for Gen Pop, yeah, okay, but no, not athletes. Whereas Volek's actually, his sport of choice was powerlifting. Back in the day, he was a powerlifter. He's big on that stuff. He's done studies that show good levels of hypertrophy with low carb diets. Short term, the generalisability probably isn't there. But the long story short, this discussion
I'm happy that you touched on that. That you just said.
Yeah, and that's something people
pointed out some very important considerations we need to make when we talk about diets studies.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to have a perfect diet study.
Exactly.
You know how impossible that would be? Mm-hmm. It would be just ridiculous.
I mentioned it to you earlier. One day, being a researcher, I'd love to do a 2-year study with AFL footballers on vegan and low carb diets.
And I tell you what,
it's never going to happen.
It's not.
With 50 people in each group.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
How long would you want to do that for? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And when people talk long term, I remember you defining long term once as greater than 12 months, but people live for 50
Did I really
years.
Say that?
Maybe it wasn't you. It
I would disagree. I don't think you can put
if it was a while ago.
Yeah, so, I don't think I would disagree with my past self. Okay. I don't think you can put an objective. There are in health behaviour research. There is
yeah, you might have been talking.
I think it was in health behaviour research. There is
what they classify long term.
There is if the person sticks to it for long. I think it's the trans theoretical model because that's my favourite. It's the one I usually reference. But
that is great.
You've studied it at uni because you would have done health behaviour stuff. But if you stick to it for longer than a certain amount of months, I think it is 6 to 12. I've totally forgotten, and regression doesn't occur. Then it's like it's something that you have sort of made habitual.
The maintenance stage.
Yeah, the maintenance stage. Can you really put an objective number on something like that?
You can't, especially given that people, hopefully, do live for a lot longer than 12 months, seriously, people live for 50 years.
Yeah, so 50 I hope I live for a lot longer than 50 years.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's a big difference between 12
I agree.
So watching something change over 12 months.
You can change the behaviour that you're doing, but still facilitate a similar outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you regress? Or did you just do something different to promote the same thing?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And which in the end, if we're looking at generalisability, there's a lot of things that matter. For sizes, study sizes of 1, and again, probably another disclaimer, a lot of the things I'll talk about here are about myself, n equals 1, sample size of 1. For that stuff, generalisability, I reckon doesn't matter. Confounders don't matter. If you do
generalisability doesn't matter.
For yourself, for one person, if you...
Oh, no, because we're talking about you.
Exactly. If you implement something and you have a positive effect...
But if you generalise that to somebody else...
Exactly.
Then that's questionable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With the debate, so there's the Volek and Aragon one. There's another one with... it's on the topic of veganism. It's by Chris Masterjohn and Joel Salatin. Chris Masterjohn is... I don't know what to call him, researcher, I suppose, or...
Is it on YouTube?
Yep.
Okay.
He's a low carb expert, I suppose you could say. That's a very loose title though. And which he's a smart dude as well. And then Joel Salatin knows a lot about farming and not just low carb stuff. I don't even know if he's big on low carb, but ethical farming.
Have you done a bit of that in nutrition science at uni? We did a bit of agriculture and stuff.
Not
in
agriculture,
third year,
no.
we did a little bit of it.
I haven't done it. So I think you did. I'm doing a Bachelor of Exercise Sports Science.
Yeah, you don't have the. You probably wouldn't have all the choice that I had.
I've done 2 electives on nutrition. So you did health science?
Yeah, because I wanted to do more nutrition units, but also wanted to do exercise science units, and I couldn't pick.
We didn't touch on agriculture at all. And agriculture and cooking themselves.
So we did a little bit of that.
They're 2 things that I think are so important, but like are so. People don't consider them at all in terms of fitness or sports science, which to me is
I don't think like it's something that people have to like really worry about so much.
Or maybe it doesn't matter so much, but it's helpful.
For an individual, I don't think it matters.
Maybe not.
Maybe at a general population level.
Yeah.
To some degree, it might.
But this debate, getting back to it, had Chris Masters on and Joel Charlatan. They were like pro-meat, eating meat sort of thing. And then you had Neil Barnard, who's a very big vegan advocate, and I forget the other dude's name. But that debate, and I'm not vegan. I think that if... But the debate was amazing. It was really great to watch.
I think that if you want to be vegetarian / vegan, whatever you want to call it, well, I mean, they're different. But like, for the most part, if you just want to consume no meat, right, or meat products, then that's fine. You can totally do that. You're allowed to do that. No one's going to... There's a lot of people out there who heckle you for it, but who cares about what they have to say? But
before we go on, you're an Essendon supporter. Did you know, I'm not sure how true it is, but I heard early in the year, Joe Watson turned vegan this year.
I heard a little bit of that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter. What's that got to do with, it doesn't, what's that got to do with anything?
And people who look at him and say, well, his performance dropped big time this year, there is a massive... Well, I think...
he looked, I'll tell you what, now that you mention it...
Anzac Day, he played really well. I think he was underrated. Without a doubt, he wasn't at his peak.
Now that you mention it...
But he had a massive confounder.
What?
The Asada thing.
Yeah, thank you.
So people forget that. People hear, he went, in the
but you know what?
He went vegan, and it's like, well, hang on, he had a massive psychological
That is such a, like a stressor.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Stressor.
Like, where was I? So if he didn't look as solid this year, like physically, he's got like massive freaking quads.
Yeah.
And his quads probably weren't as big. Would you say so?
Yeah, I think I agree.
Look at him.
Yeah.
Right before the Asada thing, the dude was an animal, man. Look, he was big. Yeah. Maybe because now he's a bit older and probably thinks, stuff this, I'm done.
Yeah.
Which he was done, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But he wasn't as solid, I reckon.
No, he wasn't. And as for the performance drop, there was a drop.
I didn't even really you obviously watch it a little more critically than I do.
I do, but like there were some games I thought he was, especially Anzac Day, I thought that he was greatly underrated. But yes, sorry for interrupting there. In terms of vegan diets and low carb diets, another thing I'm big on is that, and we know individualisation, there is no one answer for everyone. Like the whole world, and people want an answer. That's why we've got things like the guidelines. People want something that.
But it's not.
Hey, this will work for everyone.
Even the guidelines are not an answer, and even the guidelines say this is a very general sort of. Like no one's going to walk around it in 2,000. It's still 2,000 calories a day or something like that.
I think so.
It's around that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get by on 2,000 calories a day. I lose weight on 2,900 calories a day.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like that's just an unrealistic. If I ate 2,000 calories a day, I'll be skinny as.
That'll be overtraining for you, won't it?
I would non-functionally overreach.
Yeah.
I think
I
would. Yeah. If I kept doing it, I would assume so because I'm stressing my body out with this huge calorie deficit, and I'm still training.
Yeah.
I would assume. Yeah. I mean, I can't really. I don't know. I could adapt.
When it comes to that, I think there's a lot of. It's very similar to if you look at training someone for strength or whatever. There's a lot of different ways to go about it, and that's how I view low carb, vegan diets, Mediterranean diets, paleo diets. It's not a case of which one's better. It's a case of which one's better for the individual.
Yeah,
they're all tools. As a nutrition person, someone who uses that stuff for PTing or whatever, you need, I think, and this is where I'm limited. I know a fair bit about low carb. I'm not an expert, like I said earlier. I'm not an expert in anything, but I know so little about veganism. I know very little about the non-low carb side of paleo. And I think they're all tools in your toolkit. If you get someone come along to you who doesn't like eating meat, thinks it's unethical, and you're very big on...
Then by all means, like...
Exactly, you're going to need to know how do you plan for that.
I think a lot of people think I'm like a paleo hater. I'm not.
I'm not going to lie, I've seen that a bit, but I understand.
No, I'm not. I just don't want people going around saying paleo cured my friggin' disease and now You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and putting it on other people like it's a religion, because there
exactly.
is a lack of evidence.
Exactly.
And when you deal with stuff like that, unless you're a doctor, that's very outside someone's scope of practice.
Yeah.
That's dangerous information to be given to someone. So I actually like paleo because there's an increase in lean meats, fruits, and vegetables.
And natural sources of stuff.
Yeah, it's just a more conventionally healthy, I'm doing the quote marks with my hands, conventionally healthy way to eat. Exactly. That combined with conventionally healthy sources of carbohydrates is a really good diet for people because they eat a lot of lean meats, fruits and vegetables, and then conventionally healthy sources of carbohydrates tend to be higher in fiber. And then they have a very, again, the word robust, nutrient profile that they can eat from.
And even if they don't do the lean meat and do like a high fat paleo type thing, they're getting the grass fed meat, they're getting the omega-3 fatty acids. They're not just munching down on just vegetable oil and things like that are really pro-inflammatory stuff, which we might disagree with there. But the point
I've seen
is
some
they're
conflicting
getting more
stuff
natural
now. With the whole like, are we in this sort of unbalanced?
With omega-6 and 3s?
Yes.
My understanding is that, almonds are something, and Mark Sisson, who is big on paleo, I think he's been called the paleo godfather before, so. But he's a healthy dude and he's very old. He's very old and very healthy. So he wrote a blog post about almonds, or almond flour rather, and he talked about how, they're high in omega-6s, but they have a lot of other things that protect free radical damage. Basically, it's a whole food. So you look at fruit, like an apple, it's got sugar in it, there's a fair bit of sugar, but that doesn't mean an apple's going to kill you because it's got other protective things in it. If it's a natural food, it's going to have the things in there that you need to cope with whatever nasties are in there.
Cool.
And that's, we're not trying to label fruit sugar as a nasty, we're just using it as an example.
And we're not using, I'm going to also we're not saying that if you eat something quote unquote unnatural, that's bad.
No, there's a quote from Ben Greenfield. He has a principle
because
called better living through science.
Because what is unnatural? What does that even mean?
Well, I had a yak with a guy yesterday.
We're just conventionally, we're just using those terms because people understand them. Like everyone heckles the word toned. Like you can't tone a muscle. I know that. But I use the word toned all the freaking time.
People understand
it. I'm not going to be like, we're going to augment hypertrophy and then decrease lean. We're going to increase lean mass and decrease body fat. And
you're going to get. Can't see Michael just put his goggles on, his glasses.
I did. I went full geek.
Propeller hat.
But I'm not going to do that because people are going to be like, this guy is just confusing the shit out of me. If someone comes in and they're like, look, I just want to be toned. I'm like, cool. We're gonna facilitate that through a systemized resistance training intervention. An increased protein intake.
Exactly.
And a decreased calorie intake. And then we're going to figure out ways to do it using these tools that you're talking about, Mediterranean, Atkins, Ornish, Keto, friggin' paleo, whatever. And we're just going to try and find you a balanced is even a weird word to use. Moderation's a weird word to use.
I hate the word moderation.
We're going to use these tools to facilitate long-term adherence, progression, and behavior change.
The thing with moderation is that, and not just nutrition, but anything, it has different definitions.
That's exactly right. Like we talked about, the core has God knows how many different... We said 2 different definitions that meant the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think, not in that sense, but more that, so if you look at let's say sugar or even saturated fat, what is moderation for that compared to moderation for eating something like kale? It's completely different. Moderation has a context. It's like the amount you need to function well. And so if you look at kale versus alcohol, moderation for those things is completely
kale versus alcohol.
They're 2 extreme examples for it. There's 2 things I want to touch on quickly. First of all, one which will be quick is what was it? I've gone blank. This is never good.
You know why I keep going blank because I'm hungry.
I'm not all that hungry, but I never say no to food. So I'll go into the longer one because that's the one I remember for the moment. So something I do at the moment, I've only been doing it for the last few weeks. Oh, to recap the coffee thing, I didn't fully disclose it. So my coffee, by the way, is almond milk or coconut milk with, I use honey as a sweetener. So there you go. I'm not
full on. Full of sugar. That's
exactly.
Very sugary.
But it's
that's
probably
rich in sugar. You know
I use very little. I add coconut oil, so that decreases the sugar effects. Honey's a better source of sugar, I think, especially if you get the Manuka honey. More antioxidants. And it's better than artificial sweeteners because they still have an insulinogenic response, and that's without glucose. I think if you're going to stimulate insulin, you're better off having glucose in the system.
Okay, why is that?
Well, insulin, right, one of the functions of it is to tell glucose to go in the muscle cells. What happens if you haven't got as much glucose in the blood? That's low blood glucose, or even worse, you're just having the negative effects of insulin without getting more glycogen storage.
Okay.
So I just think it's...
What does that mean for the person?
Oh, okay, so that was a bit technical, was it? Or
No, like what does that mean?
Okay, so insulin is meant to put sugar into the muscle a lot. So if you don't eat sugar, so usually sugar stimulates insulin. It's a hormone that tells your body to store nutrients, particularly amino acids from protein and sugar or glucose, but also fat. And it works both in muscles and adipose tissue, fat tissue. So with artificial sweeteners, they're artificial, they don't have the sugar with them, but they have the insulin stimulating effects. The science is not conclusive, but it's kind of like, why take the risk? There's not a lot of reward for it.
Is this part of like the insulin hypothesis?
No, this is.
So this is not about insulin and obesity?
This is called I think it's called a cephalic insulin response. It's spelled with a CE at the start. So it's kind of like similar to placebo, but not quite. Placebo is more of a psychological thing. This is like, body tastes something sweet, let's stimulate insulin sort of thing, I think. And then you get the insulin, which tells you to burn less fat, create less ketones, if that's a good thing for you or not. You know, a lot of debate about that. And to store more stuff. But you haven't got as much stuff to store because you're not eating the sugar itself. So insulin is telling sugar to go into the muscles. But if you eat less sugar, what's it telling you to do? It's telling you to stop burning, well not stop, but burn less fat, because it's all on a continuum. You don't stop burning fat, but burn less fat to expend less energy and to store more food.
But if you equate for calories and protein, then would you really burn less fat?
Maybe not. So if you take a sweetener with protein, maybe it's good.
No, I mean like over the course of even a net calorie balance for the week.
Yeah.
I'm
not saying insulin's evil here, but I'm just saying that...
yeah, make that clear, because people are going to be like...
sorry, I didn't want to...
Because you know what, people get very, like, if someone goes on 60 Minutes or any sort of like current affairs show or anything like that, and sort of sensationalizes all these things, everyone's like, this is the devil, this is bad,
exactly.
This is why. It's always good to clear it up.
See, I'm good at sounding like that, but that's not at all how I think.
No, and I understand that.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that there are some negative effects of too much insulin. Big elephant in the room is diabetes. That type 1 diabetes not being able to make insulin, type 2 insulin not really working as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying insulin's evil, I'm just saying there are negative effects from it. So sweeteners, if you consume sweeteners all day long and you think that, oh, I'm not eating sugar, it's way healthier, well, not sure. That's what the science says.
That's still up in the air for you, is it?
In terms of, sorry?
That's still up in the air for you. That whole insulin debate. All right.
In terms of risk
or the whole,
for reward,
like the artificial sweetener debate. Sorry.
Yeah,
all right.
The way I look at it is risk for reward. So science isn't conclusive, but there is a risk that you could be stimulating insulin, less fat burning, all the negative effects if you eat a lot of sweeteners. What's the reward? It tastes good. You can get that from other stuff, which I get it from honey. I also add the coconut oil, which I use one particular brand which has more MCT oil. Now I'm hoping that's not more lauric acid. Lauric acid is classed as a medium chain triglyceride, so what that means is that it's like a faster absorbing fat, but physiologically or biologically it doesn't work like that. It's classed as an MCT, but it works like a long chain fatty acid. So that's not really nice. That's a bit like, not great. It's great for marketing, I suppose, but not good for if you want to actually be healthy or if you want to optimize things. Not saying LCTs are unhealthy, I'm just... The reason for having
you're just stating some very intricate physiological sort of
So MCT oil is kind of like the most ketogenic substance on earth. There is, I forget the person's name. She had MS and just about got rid of it from eating a keto diet. I forget her name though. That was for her though, so don't think that keto's like...
that's where it gets dangerous. I think that's where it's very... And how do you know that it's keto?
Exactly, that's right.
Like what other variables were involved?
Yep, perfect.
She happened to eat a keto diet and then she got better.
So for her...
But how do you know?
Exactly. For her, keep doing it. For everyone else, you got to look into the confounders.
Friggin' get a doctor, like...
Yeah.
You know.
I remember listening to a podcast with her, and she said that you can actually eat some low level carbohydrates. Like we're not talking like a can of soft drink, but like, you can eat some starch and still have a ketogenic effect if you take it with the MCT oil. Okay. So that kind of negates the for low carb people out there any negative effects of the honey. Although I don't really see it as a bad source of nutrients.
Really, it's only negative if. It's only negative based on your perception and belief.
Exactly. The other thing is, so I've got the MCT oil, which counteracts any potential possible bad stuff But I also put in a teaspoon, which is not a lot. A lot of it sticks to the spoon or the bottom of the bottle.
Yep.
So I do shake up the bottle, hence why I use it in a bottle and a metal bottle. I won't really say why, but people can notice that if they want. So long story short, I think metal's healthier than plastic. So I shake it up to try and even stuff out. But at the end of the day, I put a small amount in, and I'm not actually eating that amount either. So it's not a lot of sugar, it's not a lot of honey. It's not even 4 grams, I reckon.
That's nothing.
Exactly. Even for a keto diet, that's not a lot.
No.
Especially
so you're on ketogenic diet right now.
So the way I go about it is, this will sound like an oxymoron. I'm all about the oxymorons. I'm eating a strictly keto diet with nutrient-dense sources of carbohydrates. What I mean by that is that, for the most part, I like being low carb. I prioritise healthy sources of fats, natural sources of fats, and protein sources and low carb foods. But so nuts, some meat, some dairy. My thoughts on dairy are, if you're lactose intolerant, if you have gut issues, or if it prevents you from like any further health improvements like fat loss or whatever, stay clear of it. Otherwise, go for it.
It's fine, yeah. Like if consuming dairy products put you in a calorie surplus, consume less dairy products, but still have dairy as part of your diet.
Or if you feel subjectively, if you have like, I don't know, brain fog or whatever, then maybe avoid it. But if you feel fine on it, go for it. And if you objectively, like, do your DEXA scan or whatever, or weight scales, whatever, and it doesn't...
I would still... like with you, I like a very multifaceted diet for people. I don't want any exclusion. You know what I mean? I want people...
Well, this is where I say strictly ketosis, because that's kind of like the foundation, but then, and I did add in, this is where it becomes an oxymoron, nutrient-dense carbohydrates. So I'm not massive on whole grains. They pack a lot of B vitamins and things like that, but I feel like you can get that from a lot of meat sources. I'm more for like vegetables and fruit.
Okay.
They're full of antioxidants, especially colourful ones.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine.
Exactly. So like, I know you've talked about Subway a lot. I actually work at Subway, guys, out there, over in Rowville. So my Subway will be a salad bowl with something like steak. I will have mozzarella cheese. There was actually very little difference in fat content in the cheese for those listening. So if you want low-fat cheese...
I just picked the Subway cheese that I like the most.
Exactly. The low-fat cheese, the Swiss, it's literally about 0.2 grams difference. It's nothing. And then I'll have pretty much all the salads. I'll have lettuce, tomato, tons of olives, healthy fats. Olives are great. Bit of sodium, which is necessary for a low-carb diet. Really necessary. You need to go nuts on sodium pretty much.
Okay.
And I have carrot. I have a really colourful mixture of vegetables.
Yes, very good point.
I've forgotten the word, phytonutrients, but there's another word that I'm forgetting. Getting a lot of key nutrients, basically.
No, I hope you mentioned phytonutrients as well. Yeah. Some people forget.
Yeah, I mean, tomatoes...
But if now people forget it, but if you stick to like general diet practice where you consume like 6 serves of vegetables a day, and all that sort of stuff, you will be getting sufficient phytonutrients for the most part, would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So what I call the low-carb disciples, the people who are really, biased in that sense, they might hear me say this and be like, wait, you're trying to be keto, but you eat like carrot and onion, that's full of starch. You're going to, spike blood glucose, you're going to get metabolic syndrome or whatever. And it's like, well, one, I'm not the most insulin-resistant person in the world. I don't have diabetes. 2, they're nutrient dense. Like, you're getting a lot of quality nutrients. Third, you're getting fiber. 4, like, they are low calorie. I think that helps. So
yes.
They do 100%. Fill you up, and most importantly, well, maybe not most importantly, but importantly, they're stuff I like. So I don't really go spinach.
No, that is most important.
I don't really go the spinach or the pickles because I'm not a fan of them.
That's fair enough.
I love kale. Kale is my favourite vegetable.
But I think another really important point too is all these fruits and vegetables, or vegetables that you mentioned, contribute to a robust and multifaceted micronutrient profile.
Exactly.
And phytonutrient. But most, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with that, you will conventionally, very generally, have superior health outcomes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're very unlikely to be in a deficit of any sort of micronutrient.
Yeah. I think we need to make clear, picking what you like isn't just a case of going to your local drive-in and
but it's
chips and hamburgers, but you do need a healthy relationship with food. And that doesn't necessarily mean avoiding a particular macronutrient, whether you're really low fat or really low carb. I don't see that as unhealthy, but it's just a case of knowing when to have either macronutrient. I mean, we can look at carb timing around resistance training. There's another reason for me why carbs aren't the devil. The low carb disciples would be like, oh, you can't have starch. And I'm like, but I just trained. Like, I can do it with some glycogen. And
Good point.
the other thing is, as I explained with the coconut oil, there's also a thing called super starch. Big shout out to one of my biggest idols, Peter Attia, Canadian dude. He definitely look up his stuff. He knows a lot about cholesterol, and like he's actually a doctor. He did a degree in maths and engineering or something like that, and he worked at the law firm McKinsey & Co. And he interned at the Johns Hopkins Hospital. He's done a lot of amazing stuff.
Far out.
And
what a
that is
resume.
it. He talks like he is so intelligent. You hear my vernacular, and I'm kind of bogan like. He's completely opposite, man. He is so smart.
Far out.
But another thing with MCT oil, super starch, is another carbohydrate source where you can intake carbohydrates and still stay, keto adapted, fat adapted, whatever you want to call it. And for me, being able to have a high amount of glycogen or carbohydrate in the system and being able to utilize fats, that is true metabolic flexibility for me. So just because you're eating carbohydrates, like, again, they're not the devil, they're not evil, like, they have a function, they can do good stuff. And again, this is talking in the context of a low carb diet. Some people might work better on a non-low carb diet.
Cool, I like it.
So there's that, and that gets back to having the diet, knowing about lots of different diets in your tool belt sort of thing.
Yes.
Before we finish and knock off, I don't know how much time we have.
We are totally about to finish and knock off.
Okay, really.
I don't know how you knew that. Good job.
I know I talk a lot, so one quick thing, and this is something I find so healthy, and I will make a blog post. People definitely follow Adapt to the Max. That's my Facebook blog. This is something I will write about soon. It's long walks on the beach with the sunset. Sounds pretty airy-fairy. Sounds, and you mentioned earlier, romantic. but honestly, I combine a lot of cool things. So I talked about the grounding, which works amazing for me. After I do this, I feel so euphoric and happy and relaxed. It is amazing. I'm addicted to it. I do it once a week, sometimes more if I can fit it in. So I go and watch the sunset. It gives me a great parasympathetic nervous system activation, rest.
Which is like your rest, digest, relaxation.
Exactly, which is so important because in our world,
very cool. We are very sympathetic.
A lot of people have what I call sympathetic overdrive. They have that imbalance.
Cool. All right,
so
I
I
like
get that. I enjoy watching the sunset. It's beautiful. I love it. It's amazing.
Especially now the weather's good.
Now as well. Like in winter, it's probably not as good, but spring and summer, it's amazing. I get sunlight exposure.
Vitamin D.
Yeah, vitamin D, and also lithium.
Okay.
If you actually look into the sunset, so you're not really, you shouldn't look into the sun. If you watch the sunset, you can absorb a lot of lithium. That came from Jack Kruse again. He did a very good post on it. Again, that's just something I picked up being, the jack of all trades sort of thing. I don't know the complete ins and outs of it, but that's another cool thing. But yeah, you absorb a lot of cool things from the sun. I don't get a lot of sunlight, so that's important for me. Also, the natural signalling of the sun going down. We talked paleo, and no one has a paleo lifestyle. Not 100%.
No, they do not. I'm so happy you mentioned that.
Something natural like the sun setting, does kind of help reset your circadian rhythms because that's kind of like light is such
That's
a big influencer.
I like that. That's
light
a little bit like...
And Jack Kruse knows that stuff back to front inside.
Yeah, because a lot of the time, like we get a lot of artificial light and stuff, everyone looks at their phone 24/7.
Blue light, I'm very big on blue light blocking glasses. I unfortunately lost mine earlier this year and it's the worst thing to lose because I loved those.
I think people are very distracted and sympathetic and they can't fall asleep properly. And then sleep is a very important physiological, has a lot of important, not only psychological, but physiological sort of processes that if you don't get enough recovery, how can you really optimally function?
Exactly. So there's 4 things. I also do a bit of cold thermogenesis, which we haven't got time to talk about, but long story short, being in the cold, you burn more energy and fat from a multitude of ways. I mean, obviously your muscles shiver, you've got physical contraction there, but also the hormones, adiponectin and irisin, switch on fat burning. They convert your white fat to brown fat. They activate your brown fat. There's a lot of cool things going on there. It's also really good for immune system functioning, which a lot of people don't think. Being in the cold helps you not get sick. What? Like, how does that work? There's a couple of studies out there showing increased glutathione production, which is an antioxidant. Things like that. There's big links from adiponectin to cancer. I'm not saying it's a cure or anything, but there's a lot of cool stuff. So I do a bit of that because I usually, it's end of the day and I'm wearing shorts. I also do it barefoot, so I get the grounding, but I also get barefoot conditioning. I don't really do any barefoot running. Sometimes maybe sprinting, but that's because I do it. It is a high intensity movement, but I do it in low volume. I am not at the stage of barefoot running, not at all. It is so gradual. I haven't got the luxury of being barefoot 24/7 because of my work and what I do. But it takes so long to be able to be a barefoot endurance runner.
Yeah.
So it's so gradual. I love barefoot living. So I try and spend as much time out of shoes as I can. So I get some barefoot conditioning. If you go for a 1 to 2 hour walk barefoot, It's great, especially on sand at the beach. There's a big sensory component, obviously. So there's that. I mean, there were so many. I'm literally hitting like about 10 birds.
You just smashed it to close.
This is something so healthy, and again, maybe it's not generalisable because maybe there's a lot of confounders, but N equals 1 study. This is something that I love so much.
Something you do that you can tell you're very passionate.
Every Sunday I'll go down to here at Mornington, maybe Frankston, maybe further up towards Brighton. And I don't live near the beach either, so there's a change of scenery, salty water, salty air. So I live, I live in Lilydale at the moment, and maybe might be moving out towards Rowville, Mulgrove. Nowhere near the beach, man. So I don't get that a lot. So that's something I call it long sunset walks or long beach walks.
To close, after you've done that, do you want to close the show in a few words? A few words. Try, Tut.
What do you mean?
Sum it up. Actually, I'll sum it up. I'll let you. I'll answer with it. We'll go
you
totally.
Do it and then I'll do it. Or?
Nah.
Okay,
I'm going to ask you a question to close.
Oh, I see. Okay.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, that is a very difficult.
Everyone, I get so many people who are very intelligent.
Now, my brother's very big into Marvel.
Yes.
He loves Rob Boxall, loves his superheroes, thinks The Avengers is the greatest movie ever. I don't. I think Back to the Future is, but anyway, he's big into his movies too. So,
what do we got?
I've got some education on superheroes. Honestly, it's difficult. I like Deadpool. I like Wolverine. The qualities they have would be sick. But honestly,
healing factor.
Healing factor is pretty awesome. But I'd probably get depressed from living forever. So
if you behead
I don't know. Probably. Look, I'll tell you what. It's not an actual superhero that has one of these. I've made it up. But
let's go.
To enjoy life.
Oh, what a power.
Something that Ben Greenfield, he's my biggest idol. I've only just mentioned him now. He wrote an article which there were a lot of cool things, in-depth things, deep and meaningful stuff. One of them was, he asked, what do you want on your tombstone? That's something I've been trying to answer for the last 2 or 3 years since I saw the article. And it's not like thinking that, I'm going to die.
No, but what is your life purpose?
Yeah, and I realised it the other day, I think probably 3 or 4 days ago, and this is what I would love. He enjoyed life and helped others to do the same. So that's probably
what a great way to close it off.
So yeah,
I love it.
Enjoy life, have fun.
Good stuff. All right, thank you very much, Dougie.
No worries, thank you,
Speak to you guys next time. Thank you.